Hey everybody, welcome to the Upbeat Podcast, a podcast about hope and perseverance from Kelly's Angels. I'm Mark Mulholland, and I'm joined today by two very special guests. In fact, one of the voices you'll hear today you will recognize because Mellisa Allen joined us last year on the Upbeat Podcast. Today she's joined by her daughter, Sophia Allen. Mellisa, Sophia, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
We're talking today about a lot of work that's been done in the past year in memory of your sister, Sophia, your daughter, Mellisa, Liv. Olivia Allen was a guest on this podcast. In fact, a little later on, I think we're going to hear from Liv about some of the things that she had to say when we chatted about a year ago. But since she passed, she lost her battle with leukemia in March of this year. She always fought with a smile. She sparked a movement called Liv Like Liv, and you are continuing to honor her legacy. So congratulations on that. Mellisa, let me first of all, in a public forum, offer my condolences.
Thank you.
And to you as well, Sophia. Liv was an inspiration to many. And in that regard, you are continuing to make sure that she continues to inspire. Tell me where you're at now.
Oh, thank you for asking. So we are officially a foundation. I'm a 501(c), and I have Venmo. I have everything set up to begin helping others. And our goal really is to target teens, really any kids, but teens specifically, because they had really focused more on the younger kids within the cancer setting. And Liv and I spoke at length about the idea of helping others in a way that was a little bit different. Liv really was all about makeup and fashion and wigs. And so my goal is to give back in that way, but also to focus more on the sibling piece, now stepping back and having a different perspective as a parent who lost, and also working with a child who's lost her sister.
Yeah.
So there will be a focus on helping the siblings of those who are passed.
Yes.
So, Sophia, how do you feel about all this?
I think it's really, really cool. I think like the 10 months we spent in the hospital, like everything is really geared towards young children, which is perfectly fine. But I remember like Liv and I and her best friend Aubrey, like the day she got diagnosed, we were playing, what is it called?
Air hockey.
Yeah, air hockey. And it's like, when they closed that due to some reason, there was pretty much like nothing there.
All little kids' activities, yeah.
So it was kind of like we had to make our own like things up to like make the time go by faster. And like after her passing too, they don't really do anything for the siblings. And I think that like stinks, to be honest, because they kind of just like forget about you. Not like the nurses or the doctors, but kind of like society, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that like we're doing something is like really powerful.
Yeah, I think it is, and congratulations on that. And to back up a little bit, Liv was among the oldest at the hospital, right? Among the oldest at the Melody Center at Albany Med. And I recall her saying on this very podcast that she was closer in age to the nurses and the healthcare staff than she was some of the other patients there. That's not to say that she didn't strike up relationships with many of the other patients there. So I may have put the cart before the horse, but Liv was diagnosed with leukemia.
Yes.
She suffered a stroke as well. She battled through those things with a smile. In fact, when she was on this podcast, she was doing quite well. She had the smile on her face the whole time. Mellisa, tell me about those months after, though, because this sort of came out of nowhere.
Yes.
The initial diagnosis and then the second diagnosis. Tell me about that.
Right. So in December, we actually thought things were going really well, and we sat in the office, and I'll never forget this moment, and I could tell the look on Dr. Halligan's face when she walked in that she was going to deliver bad news, and that at that moment she did, and she said it wasn't what we hoped for, but Liv had relapsed, and I obviously was in absolute tears, and Liv looked at her and said, this will be okay because maybe I will have a bone marrow transplant and then just be done with it. I don't have to do 2.5 years of treatment.
Liv was consoling her.
Yes, it was and the doctor and the nurse was just like, Liv, this is such a you statement. And I'm almost in a fetal position. And Liv is like, I've got this. There's the silver lining is the bone marrow transplant's actually going to be easier than this treatment for me. And that was our mindset, was like, okay, a reset, and then we moved on and we were ready for that challenge. And we moved forward with all of the steps that we needed to clear her heart-wise and her ability to make it through a bone marrow transplant, lungs and things like that. And we started it's called bridge treatment to get prepared for the bone marrow transplant. And that was in January. And we were there for almost the 28 days, which is the stay in order to get bridged over to the transplant. And there was this feeling when a nurse walked into the room and they said, we got to take your blood one more time. And I, at that moment, didn't think anything of it, but Liv did. And she was like, well, why do you need to? We were doing blood every 12 hours just to check levels. And they said, well, sometimes we get bad reads from the port and things like that. And of course, I was just like,
right? Made sense,
yeah,
right?
It totally has to be that. Then they came back and it was about 10:30 at night. And the nurse, her head nurse, that's oncology head nurse, Sue, and Dr. Halligan sat there with us and said, it's not what we expected or hoped for. And this is like a very, very rare case, but she actually had went from ALL to AML. And that's going to change the course. She, at that point, didn't give us statistics, but we knew AML was going to be devastating. This is a progression
or a different disease? How does that?
Basically, what happened, and it's unusual to have happen. I heard from the third case documented case that they could find that it mutated into a different cell. So she was really battling two diseases. She still had some disease left for ALL B cell, but now we have AML, which is another type of leukemia that's very aggressive, and the prognosis is much, much worse. So Liv, in her wonderful way, was just like, you know what? This is a new diagnosis. This might be easier.
Wow.
And honestly, her perspective was such a relief because I actually gave it some thought.
Yeah.
I really did. I said, this might be what we needed because her body wasn't responding the way we wanted with the ALL, right?
It's a new opportunity.
Right. It was, okay, we just pivot, and that's what we did. We said, we're pivoting. We're fighting the same thing, and it's a different way. We end up in the same result with a bone marrow transplant, but doing more aggressive chemotherapy. And once they started the new treatment, things started to change. And
for the worse?
For the worse, yeah. And she wasn't responding as well as they thought. And I would say probably within 3 weeks, they had pulled me aside and said, it was getting closer to March. I'm worrying that her counts aren't recovering, and they were doing every 12 hours for platelets and, different transfusions, and it was uncommon for her body to not respond.
You guys are at the hospital every day.
So yes, I didn't leave. And so when they had pulled me aside, they said, things are not progressing the way we expected. And I said, what does that mean? And I'll never forget, because I was sitting in the office and there was this sign on the wall that said, work hard, be kind, good things will happen. And it was like, no, that doesn't happen. And that's been our mindset, my mindset for forever. And that has been a big challenge for me. But Dr. Halligan looked at me and she said, there's nothing left that we can do. And I just said, it's not possible. And she wanted to have a conversation with Liv without me. And I did give her that opportunity. And Liv had said when she was with her that she was going to find a clinical trial with her. And Dr. Halligan happened to be on call that weekend. So she made plans with her to try to find clinical trials that would work for her. Like, she wasn't giving up. And it was just heartbreaking, but also really courageous of her to just be sitting there and just was like, I'm going to dig deep, and I'm doing it. And I didn't realize she said this to Sophia, but she's like, I don't want people to give up on me. And I didn't know that until like a couple weeks ago. That was really hard. But anyways, she did. She got her phone and she was looking, Mark, and spending hours trying to find clinical trials. And what was really hard is she was unique in that she presented different. She was at a certain age, and to qualify for trials, you have to, meet certain criteria.
Sure.
She didn't meet any of the criteria that would allow her another opportunity, and there was nothing left that they could do. And from that point, you just watch your child lose every ounce of themselves. And I think for us, that was hard. She never once ever said, am I dying? Or she said, I don't want people to give up on me, but she said it to her specifically. And one of her last journal entries, which end of January, she wrote, God, please save me. I just want to live. And that just sits with me. And it's so hard because when you look at all of these kids fighting, and then there's 4% of our monies to go to pediatric cancer research. There's so much more we can do. I look at Liv, who had just a strong desire to live and help others and be present, and she couldn't. And it was, as a parent, gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
So sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, please, no. 4% is amazing to me. But Sophia, I want to ask you about that. So you and your sister had a wonderful bond.
Yeah.
And she felt that she could share that with you, probably because she didn't want to upset her parents.
Yeah. So,
right?
like a few weeks prior, going off what Mom was saying earlier, like the treatment wasn't working. So I kind of backed off going to the hospital because honestly, through the 8 out of 10 months of treatment, if you looked at her, you wouldn't think she's fighting cancer. Without the bald head, she was flipping and doing all these crazy things, going to college, working at the Y. So that day when we found out everything wasn't working, I didn't really know the extent of it, how bad it was. But I remember walking into the hospital after school, and Mom wasn't in there, and it was just Liv and I. And I don't really remember what I exactly thought was happening, but she just told me, I don't want people to give up on me. She had her phone out, literally looking up treatment plans. And I was like, I'll look too, if that's what you want, let's do it. And then Dr. Halligan came in. I think she laid on the bed, and we just kept talking about, let's make this treatment plan. And I think at one point I left them two together. And I tried finding my mom. And I just honestly, was in shock because I would say for like 2 to 3 days after this like bad news, I wasn't comprehending it.
Yeah.
I thought they were looking for like, what are they called? Trials?
Yeah, clinical trials. Yeah.
Too.
So you didn't know how bad, just how bad it was.
I didn't realize that, but that I was laying on the bed with her and she was like, I don't want people to give up on me. And she was holding my hand and I'm like, no one's giving up on you. Like, we got this. But as her little sister, I was like, oh, shoot. Like, I was like, I don't know what to say.
That was the moment you knew just how serious it was.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for all that. And I think it's remarkable and amazing that you guys are able to sit here today to honor her memory and her legacy. We're going to take a little break, and then if it's okay with you guys, when we come back, we're going to hear from Liv a little bit, because she had a conversation with us in this same setting, and I think that her words will continue to inspire. We'll be right back with more of the Upbeat podcast from Kelly's Angels. Stay with us.
Kelly's Angels is grateful to have the generous support of businesses like
Hoffman Car Wash, a family-owned and operated business that has been serving the Albany, New York area for close to 60 years. Hoffman Car Wash offers a variety of car wash services, including exterior washes, interior cleans, and detailing. Learn more at hoffmancarwash.com.
the Sunmark Charitable Community Foundation that has expanded Sunmark Credit Union's abilities to support local charities. With zero administrative costs, 100% of every donation goes to helping those who need it. Learn more at sunmarkfcu.org/foundation. The Niemer Motor Group, a family-owned car dealership that has been serving New York's capital region for more than 50 years. They have 4 locations that sell Volkswagen, Ford, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram vehicles. Learn more at niemermotorgroup.com.
Now back to my dad's interview on the Upbeat podcast.
Welcome back to the Upbeat podcast from Kelly's Angels. My guests today are Mellisa Allen and Sophia Allen, and continuing our conversation about the Liv Like Liv Foundation, which you've established in memory of Liv, who lost her battle with leukemia in March of this year, 2024. But Liv was a guest with you, Mellisa, on this podcast, and if it's okay with you, I think her inspiring message carries on today. In fact, I think that's part of why you have chosen to establish a foundation in her memory. So let's listen to a little bit, if it's okay with you.
But it was hard because I couldn't walk, so I couldn't even go do stuff with them. So it was very lonely.
Yeah, I bet. But you made the best of an awful situation. You have a big smile on your face here now, and Mom is beaming as you tell the story. But how did you do that? And because some people would get really down.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm gonna fight with a smile. And you can't change the fact that you have cancer, and I didn't do anything to get cancer, so I'm like, it just is what it is, and I will get through it. And I just knew that every day, you're one day closer to the end. So to me, I'm just happy because I'm alive, and
Amen.
Yeah, I'm making the best of it because that's what you have to do. I make TikToks with my nurses. We have parties.
I love it.
Oh.
What do you think when you see that? Isn't that nice to see her smiling face?
It is. It's actually brings joy to my life, honestly, because I really thought the last 8 months were the hardest 8 months of our life, and you think about the end instead of all of the steps that you make during the journey. And she was happy, and that makes me happy.
And the smile was constant, even
always, always. And and I look at that, I am so proud because that attitude is her, and she believed that. She always wanted everyone to have that same level of energy, and it's pretty incredible.
Sophia, are you proud of your big sister?
I am. I think about her, I don't know, she's just so inspiring. And I think a lot of my team feels the same way. We talk about her legacy that she left.
Your field hockey team. We're talking about your field hockey team.
Yeah, sorry.
And you have the same number. Mm-hmm. You wear number 16 as well.
Yeah, and I just think about she was just so positive, and I feel like everyone could like take her personality and actions and like bring them to their like everyday life.
The world would be a better place.
Yes, yeah, exactly. When I look at her, I'm like, wow, like who is this person? She's freaking amazing. Sorry to swear.
Superhero. Right?
Yeah, she is. She was super cool, super fun. Every like room she walked into, like she was like the life of the party. She lit the room up. So.
Mellisa, as you look at this, you said to see her smile is kind of a nice reminder for her, because I think we often dwell on the last days, the final days, right? And that's not the memory. That's not the memory that you'll always carry with you.
Yeah.
But this is, right? The smiling, the positivity. What was it? What was it? And Sophia touched on this a little bit, but how was she able to inspire strangers even?
That positivity was just such, it filled the room. Her joy, her happiness. She really made everyone feel comfortable, welcomed. She wanted the best for everyone, and honestly would oftentimes not think of herself before thinking of others. She had such a laugh, and she wanted to have so much fun, and she wanted to challenge everyone. Like, for example, when she couldn't walk, she said, I'm going to do backflips. And that's exactly what she did. And then shared it with her oncologist, who said, please don't do that again.
I remember her talking about that, saying she was doing backflips. She's like, I hope my doctor's not listening to this.
So everything that she was about was just taking it one step further. And that was, I think, inspiring to others. Like the never give up attitude, keeping that smile on your face, and being able to still connect with others, and having the ability to feel like she can still do more and not be defined by cancer. Like, that was big for her. Like, she was stronger than cancer.
So the mission is to help teens, in particular, kids who are battling cancer.
Yes.
How do you hope to do it?
So our first goal is we created an application, and our application is already sent to the Mellisa Center, and I'm hoping Mary Beth Nichols, I'm waiting for her response, will partner with us.
She's the patient care representative.
Yes.
Is that what her title is? Yeah.
Yes.
So she's the person who tries to make kids who are going through this awful disease as comfortable as possible, right?
Yes.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that will be our, I hope, gatekeeper of the applications, because I'm requiring that there is a diagnosis. And there's also two parts of our application where it's not just about the child who is battling cancer, it's also about the sibling. And because Sophia had shared, and I think Liv also felt that there wasn't like this opportunity to have unique events with the two of them together during treatment, and even after, for siblings grieving, that's our priority. That's our mission, is to help those currently fighting, but also the siblings who are left to kind of just deal. And we've been very fortunate, honestly, with her therapist. There's not many grief therapists in this area, and Sophia is lucky enough to have that. But just providing someone the resources and the acknowledgement that we recognize that you are suffering.
We hear you.
You're right.
Yes.
And we want to help you have some sort of experience. That's our goal. In addition to that, Liv and I, while she was in the hospital, we jotted down some things that we really wanted to do, and we will be doing those things. And that's like a
creature comforts. Right? So refrigerators and all sorts of things that would make it a little easier.
Exactly. And we also talked a little bit about even Netflix or Hulu and books and makeup and things that bring us peace of joy, even just sitting on a computer and being able to pick out a shirt. I mean, that was I guess, motivating for Liv, and provided her a slice of joy for that moment. And I want to be able to do that for the kids in the hospital. And I think the other piece we talked a lot about was just being active. Liv wanted to be active in that setting, and how do we go about doing it? And I would love to work with the hospital to try to, whether it's light weights or yoga mats, things like that. That's our big goal too.
Yeah.
I love it. I love everything about that. And I think it's going to be a huge success. And I can't wait to tell the story when all of those things are implemented. And then you're expanding to other hospitals too, and other places of treatment. So I think you should be congratulated on that. If you're comfortable with it, there's another little section of the podcast from when we had Liv on. Are you guys comfortable listening to that? Is it okay? So let's see. I think this is roughly around where I was in Liv Like Liv. Why? What do you want to do there? What's your goal?
Because everyone in the Melody Center that I've met is kind of down.
At Albany Medical Center,
yes,
right?
They keep their head down. You know, they're not, I mean, obviously it's a terrible situation, but I truly believe that you have to fight with a smile or else you will not get through it. So every time I'm there, I'm always talking to everyone. I'm like, come on, let's do this, let's do that. Even if they're 2 or if they're like 18, I will talk to them. So I try to encourage other people to fight with a smile because it makes like the difference. And when you're so down about it, I mean, you can't do anything, so you can't change it. You're still gonna be there. So why not make it better?
And Mom, you're nodding too. What do you
I believe in
you
it.
proud. Yeah,
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm.
So that was just about a year ago that we recorded that, and she carried that attitude wherever she went. And what do you want people to know? What do you hope that people take away from it? Again, this inspired a movement not just here in the capital region of New York, but around the country. Gymnastics teams encouraging people to live like Liv. What if people take away one thing, Sophia, about your sister, and Mellisa, about your daughter? What do you hope that is?
You go ahead. I'm gonna think about this one.
I would say positivity and never give up attitude.
Yeah.
That's key, and you felt that when you walked in her room. Even in her last days, she was making jokes and trying to make everyone else feel better.
Yeah.
And I think when you are walking in the hallways and you can share a smile and have that energy and positivity, it does make a difference. And I hope that people around the world will find that having that positivity and the ability to kind of look outside themselves and see that other people are also struggling and be able to lean into them is so important. And I do think that has made a big difference with the people, at least even around here. They feel like she is always present, and they feel like she will always make a difference because of how she lived like Liv.
I agree with that. In fact, you, your family, and the movement that you've all inspired were part of the Kelly's Angels Mother Lovin' 5K, which is our big annual fundraiser in the State Park on Mother's Day. And we had our largest turnout by a long shot because of all the people that you guys have inspired and all the people that felt connected to you and to Liv. So I'm grateful for that. I wanted to tell you that. Personally grateful. Our organization is grateful. And Sophia, I should mention, I did ask you a question, and I want to get back to that, but I should mention that one of the things that Kelly's Angels does is try to provide something to siblings as well. So whenever you say the word, and Kelly's Angels is ready to provide you a little getaway, a concert, a show, Broadway show, whatever it is, we're ready to do it. So you just give us the word on that. But getting back to the question about what one thing do you hope people take away from Liv and the way she lived her life?
I think like Liv as a person, she was just like very selfless. And that's kind of going off what you said, but she like, no matter like how hard her day was, she was still like asking other people how they were doing. And I think like a lot of people could use that like in their lives. And also just being like grateful, like going off that, like just being grateful that you get to be on a gymnastics team, or you get to run today. Like the little things like matter, and I feel like Liv's like a good like example of that. Any like small step, like she was proud of it. And like I remember my sister and I were at the gym one day after her stroke, and she was running, and I started taking a video of her. I was like, this is amazing, like, oh my God. And I just think like her smile, my smile, like everyone could use a little bit of that in their life.
Amen to that. Anything either of you would like to add? Is there anything, I guess I should say, Mellisa, how can people help? How can people help the foundation? Do you need anything right now?
Right now, we are working on different fundraisers with Cantina, Panera, Chipotle.
Restaurants in
Yes,
and around
in
Saratoga
local
Springs.
area,
Yep.
and almost every field hockey game is donating some sort of monies towards the foundation, and we will have our first official meeting to look at applications in December, which I'm very excited
That's
about.
exciting, yes.
And then we will also be looking at trying to put together a very big golf tournament to raise some money for, like, our goal is to go big and try to be able to give more money towards the unique events that are tailored towards kids with cancer and the siblings who are grieving. But right now, it's 8 months into it, and
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right. Mellisa, Sophia, thanks so much for spending some time with us and sharing Liv's story. And please come back anytime. As the foundation grows, we want to stay in touch, and we want to stay, you're part of the Kelly's Angels family, whether you like it or not. So we'll keep telling your story as long as it's helpful. So Mellisa Allen, Sophia Allen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please leave us a review and send us a comment. For the Upbeat podcast, I'm Mark Mulholland. Until next time, stay on the Upbeat.
If you enjoy The Upbeat, please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have topics you'd like us to cover on The Upbeat, please send your ideas to theupbeatpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. On behalf of the volunteer board of Kelly's Angels and the families we help who are facing life-threatening conditions, thank you for listening to The Upbeat.
Nice job, McKenna Rose.
Thanks, Dad. You too.